Now, to say that Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, was a bad movie would still not be doing it justice in my opinion. For many fans, this movie was just a huge slap in the face. We saw in this movie that Michael Myers was not actually working under his own volition, but instead was being controlled by a ritualistic faction called the Cult of Thorn, which completely invalidated all of Michael's actions in the previous movies, because they basically revealed that he didn't actually want to kill anybody, and that he was basically being forced to do it. We also saw the beloved Danielle Harris was recast as Jamie Lloyd, only for her to die in the first 15 minutes of the movie, and that was after everything we saw her have to go through in Halloween's 4 and 5. So simply put, I hate this movie with a passion, and I absolutely understand why the franchise was rebooted with Halloween H20, which wisely decided to decanonize the events of Halloween's 4, 5, and 6. Now, while Halloween Resurrection immediately tainted everything all over again, at least things were somewhat less confused, at least for a little while. But what if H20 wasn't a reboot? What if for whatever reason they decided that H20 should have been a direct sequel to The Curse of Michael Myers? Simply put, what if Halloween H20 was a sequel to The Curse of Michael Myers? So now, for a quick recap, in Halloween 6, we learned that it's actually because of a cult, known as the Cult of Thorn, that Michael has actually become a murderer in the first place. You see, when he was a young boy, he was inflicted with something known as the Curse of Thorn, which gifted him with immortality and inhuman strength, but in turn, robbed him of his freedom of choice, and forced him to hunt down and kill members of his own family every year on Halloween. Now, we don't exactly know if Michael was freed from the Curse of Thorn in Halloween 6, since he brutally killed all the druids that were seemingly controlling him, but then afterwards, he still tried to kill his son Stephen, so I'm guessing his curse was not lifted, but I don't know, it's very confusing, so forgive me for that. Now, assuming that his curse wasn't lifted, then Mike would still have more family members to track down, and in this timeline, we're not just talking about Steven, we're also talking about his sister, Lori, and his nephew, John. You see, in Halloween H20, we learn that after Halloween 2, Lori actually faked her death in a car accident and fled to California to become a headmistress at a boarding school and raise her son John in peace. Now, this actually fits pretty damn well with the Thorn timeline, since in Halloween 4, Jamie Lloyd was left orphaned when her mother supposedly died in a car accident. So we learn in this new timeline that Lori actually faked her death in the car accident, believing that her daughter Jamie was better off in somebody else's care. However, she quickly regretted this decision, and when she had her son John, she decided not to give him up for adoption like she did with Jamie. Now, at the end of Halloween 6, Tommy, Kara, Danny, and Steven managed to escape from the asylum when Dr. Loomis stayed behind and sacrificed himself to Michael to buy them time to escape. Of course, I'm going off the theatrical version. We then learned that Loomis actually had a failsafe in the case that Michael returned. He knew, of course, that Lori faked her death, and he had a file on her new whereabouts hidden in his house. He instructed his assistant, Marion Chambers, to go to his house, retrieve the files, and destroy them in the case of Michael's return. However, upon hearing that Lori's grandson was being protected by the group, she calls them and decides to give them the file so that Stephen can be reunited with his grandmother. However, Marion was unaware that Loomis kept a second file, which Michael promptly steals after killing her. Now, I know that Loomis having two files seems a little convoluted, but so is the entire franchise at this point if we're being honest, so I'm sorry, but it's the only way that makes sense to me. So now, the Halloween 6 group would travel to California to meet with Lori, who has grown extremely paranoid since she's been keeping up with Michael's story in the news, so yes, she is all caught up with the events of Halloween's 4, 5, and 6. Now, in this timeline, she actually doesn't begin a relationship with Will Brennan, since she knows for a fact now that Michael is still alive, it's not just paranoia, like in the original movie. So now she sends her son John off on a field trip to Yosemite for his own safety, but like in the actual movie, he secretly decides to stay behind and hang out with his friends. Now, the Halloween 6 group then goes to the school, where Lori only reluctantly lets them in after hearing that her grandson is supposedly with them. Now, shortly after, Michael would enter the school and starts killing all of John's friends. Now, John himself, it turns out, was unaware that he ever had a sister, and he's pretty pissed off about it. Everyone agrees that Lori's decision to not help her daughter at any point was more than a little bit questionable. And now Lori explains that she did want to intervene and help, that she did want to go back to Haddonfield and try and stop all this from happening. But then she had a son, and she decided that it was probably for the best that at least one of her children was protected instead of putting them both in danger. Now, John, of course, is still furious, and he says that because of his mother's selfishness, his sister was terrorized, tortured, raped, and murdered, while he got to live a life of relative comfort. Lori says that she doesn't expect any of them to understand, but she was trying to do what she thought was for the best for her children. Now, Tommy then explains that Michael is being controlled by the Curse of Thorn, and that he won't be able to die until every member of his family is killed, including Lori, John, and Steven. Now, despite it being November 1st in the story right now, they reason that with the cultist dead, Michael no longer needs to operate on Halloween only, and is now capable of killing people at any point in time. Now, I know that they said that he could only kill on Halloween, but look, this franchise has gone against its own lore a lot, and they would probably do it again here. Besides, I just couldn't figure out a good way to delay the whole story by a year. Like, they could do something like Michael going into a year-long coma again, but I don't know, I think it would just be easier to just have it on November 1st. I'm sorry. Now, Lori says that no matter what happens, Michael will not leave this school alive, even if it means that she'll be arrested or killed. She is done running. Now, sadly, Tommy ends up dying in the ensuing chase. He sacrifices himself to protect the group. However, luckily, his sacrifice is not in vain, and Lori is able to get the rest of the group off campus safely. She then takes the fight directly to Michael, and she seemingly kills him, but she's not satisfied, and feeling especially pissed off about the hell that Michael put not only her through, but also her daughter and her grandson, Lori hijacks the coroner's van, and she seemingly kills Michael by decapitating him. She's then thrown into a psych ward, and we find out, of course, that she killed an innocent coroner that Michael switched places with. Michael then is able to track her down and kill her in that bullshit opener from Halloween Resurrection. Oh boy. Now, unable to find Kara, Danny, John, or Steven, who've all fled the country per Lori's wishes, Michael decides to simply return to where it all started in Haddonfield. He goes to the Myers house, and there he finds the reality TV show crew of Dangertainment and begins killing them all off. Thus, the events of Halloween Resurrection are left unchanged. Oh boy, yay! And so that is what I think would happen if Halloween H20 and I guess Halloween Resurrection had been sequels to Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. I'm saying that because honestly, nobody cares about Resurrection. I didn't even put it in the title because I don't care about it. So yeah, I'm sorry, by the way, if this scenario wasn't as in detailed as you were hoping it would be. I have to admit, I only watched the Halloween franchise for the first time last year. Before last year, I'd only ever seen the first one and the 2018 one. I hadn't seen all the ones in between. And now I've seen all of them. So, wait, except for Halloween Ends. I haven't seen that one yet. But I've seen all the rest. And, you know, as of this year, I've only seen Halloween 6 and Halloween H20 twice. And it was a year since I had seen them. So I am sorry if this seemed a little bit loosey-goosey, if I didn't seem as in detail as you might have wanted it. I really tried my best with this. I don't like talking about Halloween 6 because Halloween 6 is a piece of shit. I think we can all agree that Halloween 6 is a piece of shit. Unless you're a fan, okay? If you're a fan, let me know in the comments down below. I don't mean to rain on your parade, and I would absolutely love to know why you like it, but I just personally don't. I think it's a real low point for the Halloween franchise. I don't know if it's worse than Resurrection. I go back and forth with those two in regards to which one is the worst. But Halloween 6 is definitely one of the worst for sure. Halloween H20, by contrast, is one of the best Halloweens. And I think that had to do with deciding to decanonize all those things. And I admit, recanonizing those things does add some problematic elements to the story. Like, I had to make it so that Laurie abandoned her daughter and left her to suffer for years through all this hellish stuff. And I did my best to try and make her sympathetic despite that, and I don't know if I did a good job, but I hope you guys liked it anyway. This was an interesting scenario to write. I pieced it together as I was watching these movies last year, and unfortunately I didn't have time to do this video last year, so I decided to do it this year. But yeah, I did end up having to rewatch Halloween 6. I didn't bother rewatching Resurrection, though, because I didn't need to, and that movie sucks. So I hope you guys can understand that decision. But yeah, it was fun to talk about. It wasn't fun to watch, but it was fun to talk about. And for the record, I do understand what they were going for with the Curse of Thorns stuff, because, like, Michael can't die, and I understand they wanted to, you know, put in some supernatural reason why. I get it. I just don't think it was done right, and they really screwed over Jamie's character. Jamie deserves so much better, and now that the Laurie stuff is done in the Halloween franchise, I'm kind of hoping they give Jamie's character a redo. I think she deserves it. And bring back Danielle Harris. Why not? She's awesome, and she seems eager to play her again, so why not? But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to let me know in the comments down below, as well as by also giving this video a thumbs up and sharing it, with all of your friends and all your various social media platforms. And happy Halloween, everybody. And once again, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see all of you in the next video.